Dreaded Birdcall, a Sally Face fanfiction by Monty Faye. My alarm clock went off for a couple of seconds before I slapped the off button. I was awake before it rang, actually excited to go to school. Normally when it came to going to Knoxville High School, I dragged my shoes as much as acceptable under my father's scrutiny, but now I had to tone down how eagerly I got ready for school. My gray bed was made at record speed and I was already in my clothes for the day by 7:30. Now I'd have to wait in my room to avoid suspicion. Last time I got ready for school too fast, my father thought I was off to do drugs or something. I don't remember the specific thing he suspected, but I do remember the feeling of his favorite silver buckle belt as it whipped against my back. I think it's best to avoid that happening again. At least I have some time to write. I went into my closet and shoveled my hands through my folded shirts. Under the fourth shirt, like always, was a purple college-ruled notebook. Last year, my father didn't bother to check my schedule and bought an extra. I didn't correct him, and now I use it as my journal. I need to get out my emotions somehow, since the confession booth wasn't exactly a safe avenue for venting. I grabbed my journal and went to my desk. I opened my English textbook to a random page and set it beside my journal. If my father came in, he would just think that I was doing homework and hopefully not give it a second glance. I flipped through the pages scrawled in my handwriting, stopped at a half-filled page, and began writing. May 7th, 1993. It's been weeks since I ran out of my house and wound up in the apartment of Sal Fisher. I regret to say I haven't returned the same kindness he's shown me. Hell, I don't think I've even talked to him that much since then. Since I stopped being an ass to him, we haven't really interacted that much. It's kind of pathetic of me. Why am I so scared of talking to him normally? He's been nothing but the nicest person on this earth, and probably the universe, and I'm too chicken shit to even say hi. I raised my pencil from the paper upon realizing that I was once again spiraling into a paragraph about not being normal around Sal Fisher. I already had like 10 pages in total talking about that topic, one of which was in the boys' bathroom trash can. I moved on to a different topic in my next pencil strokes. Anyways, I meant to write about the important thing happening today. Biology class is taking us on a field trip to the zoo. I can't believe Father agreed to let me go. I practically had to skip school all day, turning this Monday into a 3-day weekend. We just have to pay attention to certain exhibits, and then we get assigned a partner to wander for a bit. I hope my partner doesn't care too much, so I can just finish up some math homework on a bench or something. I closed my notebook and checked the clock. It read 7:34 a.m. Now would be a good time to make my way to the kitchen. I didn't smell any food, so I knew I'd have to make breakfast again. I hid my notebook under my fourth shirt, beelined to the refrigerator, and grabbed out an egg and the carton of milk. "Travis," my father called out from the living room. "Yes, Father?" "Make me some coffee while you're at it." What happened to please and thank you, I thought, speaking politely as an afterthought. "Of course, Father." I made the coffee the priority, scooping the coffee grounds, dumping them into a French filter, and pouring the water. While the machine did the rest of the work, I scrambled the egg with milk in a pan. The coffee machine pinged, so I turned the heat on the egg to low and got my father's mug. I poured his black coffee and went to where he was in the living room. He was on the dark leather armchair reading the paper. I peeked over his shoulder to read the headline. It read in all caps, "New Shoebill Family at the Knoxville Zoo." What the hell is a shoebill? I thought as I handed him the mug.
"Travis, I have one more thing to ask of you."
"Yes, Father?"
"While you're at the zoo, don't get dirty. Don't touch any animal. I don't want you bringing filth into this house more than you already do."
"Yes, sir." I nodded my head and silently made my way back to my simmering egg. I finished cooking, said grace aloud, and picked away at my breakfast. It was plain other than a bit of salt, and that's just how I liked it. I washed my dish in the frying pan and left them to dry on the drying rack. I took care of my looks by brushing down my hair neatly and brushing my teeth in the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, I realized that my black eye actually looked a bit better. Usually I don't get to the point of it healing like this, so it must be a good omen. My hands come together in brief prayer to better affirm this. Then I head out of the bathroom and grab my bag. "Goodbye, Father. I'll see you after school," I called out as a formality, waiting just for a second to see if he would respond this time.
"Mm-hmm,"
I heard him grunt. "That's much better than nothing." The door closed behind me and I took a deep breath of Knockville's morning air. For once, it wasn't plagued with heaviness. Today might actually be a good day. Yeah, so that was a load of shit. When we were doing roll call in a cluster before loading onto the bus, I had the unfortunate twist of fate to be partnered with Sally Face. Face burning, I walked up to my biology teacher as inconspicuous as I could manage, putting on my best teacher's pet face. Admittedly, she didn't seem to like me that much, and I didn't have the best grade in her class. Excuse me, Miss Wen, can't I be paired with someone else? Her face twisted at me, and I bit back a sigh.
Sorry, Travis.
She shook her head, not looking all that sorry.
I paired you two because I feel as if Sal would help you stay on track.
Great. Just great, I thought. To make things worse, I think Sal overheard me asking to be in a different pair. His blue eyes glanced at me, and I swear I could imagine his eyebrows furrowing and hurt under that prosthetic. I am such an ass. On the bus, I sat by the window and looked out onto the rolling sidewalk. Nothing interesting was happening outside. A person walking their dog, some crows playing in water, and a food stand. I was just trying to avoid accidentally looking at Sal. I also listened to the chatter that was going on in the bus. Philip was trying to talk with Todd about what his favorite animal was, but Todd kept on listing off as many facts about the animal as he could fit in one sentence. What a fucking nerd. No wonder he gets A's in honors classes. Larry was behind us, so he stood up and bent over the seat to talk to Sal. The bus driver must have been paying attention to the road because he did not tell Larry to sit his ass back down. Dude, I cannot wait to pet the stingrays. Sal laughed, the sound muffled under his mask.
You think you'll be able to feed them again after last time?
Hey, it's gravity's fault I lost my balance, not mine. Todd spoke up. Blaming it on Newton's laws of physics won't account for the fact that you were, for the lack of a better word, impaired. Shut up, Larry groaned. I assumed Todd was getting at the fact that Larry was probably high at the time. I kinda guessed Larry dabbled in drugs from his appearance and the way he often came to school completely zoned out on everything. That, of course, could also be attributed to his presumably little mental capacity being overloaded by the notion of being alive. Both could be possible with him, for all I know. I kept my gaze focused on the road with my jaw clenched, like staying still and avoiding eye contact would make me invisible. That didn't really work because from the reflection, I saw Larry glancing at me. I couldn't quite tell what he was thinking, but his brows were slightly furrowed. He looked away after a bit and kept on talking with Sal until the bus driver finally caught on he was standing and told him to sit down. Sal and Larry just leaned into the aisle to talk to each other until we got to the zoo. I spent the whole time thinking of things to talk about so I wouldn't be a boring group mate. The bus screeched to a halt in front of the zoo, and we all filed off of it.
Alright, class.
Our biology teacher called out to grab our attention.
We are going to attend a couple of exhibits. Stick with your partner and take notes on at least one animal. This will be used for your research project.
I groaned with a couple other students before we were handed our papers and started walking towards some exhibits. After exploring some Arctic and aquatic exhibits, we went to the Savannah exhibits. First was a giraffe exhibit. A tour guide, whose name was Sapphy or something, went on about the different things about giraffes and theories about evolution. My father told me evolution was an idea invented by the devil, but part of me thinks it's just logic. Maybe that's evil tainting my mind. Sal lightly elbowed me. I jumped and he flinched away.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I stuttered.
Yeah,
he repeated, giving me an odd look before turning back to the tour guide in the exhibit. The giraffes had a baby recently. It was scrawny and looked pretty energetic. It ambled around clumsily towards some of us. The tour guide held up some lettuce.
Recently, this little fella has been weaning off his mother's milk. He can be fed greens now if anyone is interested.
We should totally do that.
Larry prodded his partner. I think her name was Maple.
I think I'm good.
She laughed.
You go ahead.
Larry called to Sal.
You coming, dude?
Wait a sec.
Sal beckoned and turned to me.
Wanna come along?
Okay. But I stammered, startled into agreeing. I didn't mind my slip-up that much when I realized I could see Sal smile with his eyes.
Awesome!
He moved his hand towards my arm but seemed to think better of it and just waved me over to Larry. I wonder if we could see his freaky black tongue, Larry pondered aloud. Sal shook his head.
Ew, man, why would you want to see that?
It's like a monster. Imagine it on an album cover with some wings and shit.
That would be a really fucked up Pegasus.
Sal laughed. I smirked at that remark, which brought Larry's attention to me. You gonna feed it too? His tone was even and mostly unreadable. What was with him today? Usually he wants to pound my face in for even being near him. I wouldn't blame him, but still. Yeah, Sal invited me. Cool, he said tersely. Man, water could probably freeze from the way he was eyeing me. Each of us grabbed a leaf from the instructor and he guided us towards the calf. He beckoned me forward first. Worried about getting dirty, I was a bit hesitant to reach over and give it the lettuce. If Father saw a stain on my sleeve, he'd bruise the arm under it.
Don't be afraid, he doesn't bite.
Okay, I said, biting the inside of my cheek and cautiously moving the plant forward. The draft gently took the food and munched on it, looking up at me with big, innocent eyes. I couldn't help but laugh, both out of relief and shock. How could something so big be so gentle?
Perfect demonstration, young man.
The tour guide congratulated me.
Now, let's let the others come forward.
Larry and Sal came over and were much more confident in their approach to the draft. Larry pretended that it licked his hand and fooled around by shoving it in front of Sal's face. Sal laughed and pushed Larry's hand out of the way to feed the draft next. They're such goofs, Maple laughed with her arms crossed. I bit back a comment along the lines of, more like idiots, and instead made a non-committal noise. I don't think I'm in any way close enough to make those types of jokes. They would take it as a real insult. I just watched and some other students came along to feed the draft. Todd offered hand sanitizer to his friends and then the tour guide moved us along. Sal joined me as the tour guide listed off facts about various little critters and snakes that lived in Africa. I decided to take my notes on the meerkats just to get it out of the way. They entertained me, especially in the way they stood up with their paws limp. They also moved quickly, like on high alert. I guess I could relate to that.
They're kinda cute, aren't they?
I was startled that he decided to talk to me again. Yeah, they are. We stayed silent for a bit again.
Did I do something?
What? No.
I thought something happened.
Why?
You've been off.
I've been off? I bit my tongue after the harsh tone slipped out, cursing myself internally for immediately getting defensive. Sal's eyes darted around for a second as he assumably recovered from me lashing out.
Never mind.
Okay, how about we look around? You still have to do your paper. I secretly hoped the next animal we saw was carnivorous so it could swallow me whole and take me away from the situation.
Yeah, I heard there was a new animal in the savannah section nearby.
I recalled the article headline in the newspaper. The shoebills.
Sounds fun. Let's go then?
I agreed and we made our way to the crowd looking at the new creature. It certainly was something strange. It was a large gray bird with a beak that was broad and downturned. Its eyes looked like those bead eyes you would find on stuffed animals. It seemed to be alone. The others were out of view. Sal went to the information plaque that listed the information about the bird with his clipboard and started writing. Maybe this would be a good time to strike up conversation. This bird is kind of creepy. Sal's gaze went from his work to me.
It reminds me of a puppet. It doesn't look real.
I entertained the idea. What if it is a puppet?
I don't see any strings. Maybe it's possessed.
I laughed a bit. You a believer of the paranormal, Fisher?
You can say that. You?
I think that stuff is pretty stupid.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
No.
Not even holy ones?
Not yet. My time will come.
Well, when you do see something, tell me. Holy ghosts still count as ghosts.
I rolled my eyes and Sal went back to his paper with a small chuckle. The shoebill was just preening itself and looking at all the people. It locked eyes with me and I felt a chill run down my spine.
Mommy, look, a doggy!
A kid pointed towards some man's service dog.
Can I go pet it, please?
A weird part of me got deja vu for some reason. The service dog looked at me with its big eyes and I waved at it, trying to seem friendly. Suddenly, this terrifying sound broke through the air. It was like a string of gunshots that only ended when a woman screamed. Instinctively, I hugged myself and squeezed my eyes shut. When I finally opened them again, I wasn't myself. I was someone in some sort of mask holding what looked like a shotgun. There was a blonde woman cradling a kid in front of me. There was blood everywhere. On me, on the woman, on the kid. The only thing that stood out was the kid's terrified blue eye that locked onto me. As soon as I blinked again, I was back in the zoo. What the fuck? Was I going crazy? Was I possessed? I looked back at Sal to check if he noticed anything odd, but instead of giving me that odd look he'd been intent on previously, he was staring at his paper clutched in his trembling hands. Sal? He just breathed shakily. What's wrong? He still wouldn't talk or even look at me. Was he having some sort of conniption? Both the fact that something was apparently fucking with my head and whatever was happening with Sal made me wonder if I was actually going crazy. I was starting to grow panicked and kinda pissed off. Sal, what the hell is wrong? He flinched and, with a stab of guilt, I realized I really messed up. Let's get out of here. I grabbed his arm and pulled him into a place that was far away from that damn bird. He walked wordlessly, and I could feel him shaking under my grasp. Why the hell would they bring a bird that sounds like a war zone? I mumbled to myself. It's a fucking freak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
I should have gone to the dog man.
The service dog? Sal, what are you talking about?
It's all my fault.
He sounded like he was going to cry.
Oh my god, it's all my fault.
You aren't making any sense. Sal just continued to mumble under his breath and shake. I decided to take him to a single-user restroom. The stimuli from the zoo was just too much for me to handle on top of this, and I couldn't even begin to imagine what Sal felt. The door clicked behind us as I locked it, and the noise from the outside world was muffled. Sal, what's wrong?
She's not coming back home because of me.
Sal pressed his back against the wall and his breathing was speeding up.
I can't.
I stepped back from him. What he was saying to me was really freaking me out. He was talking crazy. How could I stop this? How could I help him? I racked my brain, which only made me more frustrated. I found a solution, but it wouldn't be one I like. I'll be back, Sal. Don't let anyone in. I'm getting Larry. I ran out of the bathroom in search of where he could be. I only knew one place he could possibly be, the aquatic part of the zoo. I checked multiple places where he could be. Alligator, jellyfish, tropical schools of fish exhibits, but no luck. He must be where the stingrays are. Thank the Lord he was there. He was laughing with Maple as he fed the stingrays. Johnson! Larry's demeanor immediately changed to be more neutral as he approached me, a furrow appearing between his brows as he took in my appearance. What's up, Phelps? He looked around me and he immediately grew a bit more agitated. Where's Sal? He's acting really weird right now. He won't stop going on about how something is his fault. The shoebill had this scary call and I think that's what made him upset. He won't even look at me. Larry looked more confused than anything. Just come with me! Larry explained the situation to Maple and she opted to come with us. We made our way back to that bathroom, Maple staying outside of it to keep watch. Sal was in a ball in the corner of the bathroom, rocking back and forth and hyperventilating. Jeez, dude, what happened? Larry rushed to him. You're safe, you're with friends. Sal mumbled under his breath something I couldn't hear. Did you take your meds? Larry asked. Upon another inscrutable answer, he looked back at me. He's going through some bad memories, dude. Can we help him? We could just be there for him. Larry sat next to Sal. I'm gonna put my arm around you, dude. Sal nodded shakily, so Larry did as he warned. It seemed to help a little. Sal's breathing was still very fast-paced. It was almost like the air was clogging his throat as he choked on his breaths. If you don't want to stay, you can go. This could take a bit. No, I have to stay. Larry scanned me for a second, as if he was a human lie detector. All good with me. Sal finally looked up at me with a terrified gaze.
Please stay.
That gaze. It was in that vision. Dude, you okay? Larry's question brought me back to reality. You look like you've seen a ghost. I blinked hard. I'm just worried. You and me both. After 15 minutes, it seems like the worst of it was over. Me and Larry made small talk about school the whole time, and eventually Sal piped in with his own comments. Larry acknowledged this. You feeling better?
Yeah, a bit.
Sal sighed. Nice. You think you and Travis can join me and Maple for the rest of the trip? Sal looked at me.
How about it, Trav?
I nodded immediately. Sure, let's go. After gathering ourselves, we exited the bathroom. Maple checked in on Sal to make sure he was alright, and he reassured her that everything was okay before we checked out some exhibits together. Even though I was supposed to be enjoying the rest of the trip with the others, my mind kept on wandering to the vision. Why did I see what I did? Did Sal see it too? Was I going crazy? There were so many unanswered questions, one more important than the rest. Why did the kid's eyes look like Sal's? All I knew is that everything was not okay.